Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, May 14th. Ian Cameron with you and ready to break down two pivotal games tonight in the NHL. We got Game 5, Montreal, going back to Buffalo, Habs and Sabres, Game 5, which will be our featured game on our BetCast coming up tonight. Another Patreon-exclusive live BetCast tonight for that game. And we'll also talk, of course, Vegas, Anaheim, Game 6 with the Anaheim Ducks facing elimination tonight, looking to keep their season alive. As I mentioned, we do have yet another, and thanks to those that joined us on the Patreon exclusive live betcast last night for Game 5 of Minnesota, Colorado, and what a crazy game that turned out to be. We'll recap that in a moment, and we're back on with you for Patreon members only with another live betcast tonight. Game 5, Montreal, Buffalo, series tied at 2, and we are excited about these two games tonight. We'll be on for the first game only, Montreal, Buffalo, but we'll be on for the entirety of this game starting at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And again, to join us on the BetCast or tune in for the BetCast, you must be an Ice Guys Patreon member, so make sure you get on board at patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 per month to join us on the BetCast. Before we get into the recap of the game last night, Minnesota, Colorado, a couple NHL news items I wanted to discuss and talk about, and one that I wanted to get to yesterday, but I forgot. But I'm going to get to it now. But first, Toronto. Craig Berube fired as head coach of the Leafs. Not shocked. Not that surprised by it. It's a philosophical difference, I think, between Berube and the front office. Berube's not an analytics guy. Berube's not a management guy or a number cruncher. He's never coached that way. He never will coach that way. It just felt like for Chayka coming in, he was going to prefer to get a guy that kind of walked the company line, if you will, when it comes to the analytical side of things, and that's just not Craig Berube. So I am not all that surprised that the decision was made to part ways with Craig Berube. So now the coaching search is on for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bruce Cassidy has been basically mentioned with every open job right now, open vacancy in the NHL coaching circles as far as a head coach. He's connected to Toronto as well. There's been some. Now, I would like Toronto to go down the road of a younger head coach, not recycle, and I don't think Bruce Cassidy may be the best fit. I don't think Bruce Cassidy has got Toronto at the top of his list anyway. Edmonton's probably the job he covets the most. We'll see if we get to that. And I have a lot of things to say about the Oilers in just a moment. But, like I said, it's not surprising to me. They're going to hire a head coach that's probably more in the line of thinking of the GM and hoping that works. But again, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's just fire the coach every couple of years when there's still a deeply flawed roster that you simply have to make better. And that at the end of the day, it just keeps coming back to that as well. But like I said, at this point in time, it's a situation where we've got all kinds of, roster decisions that have to be made. They're trying to make sure Austin Matthews is in a position where, we try to capitulate to him a little bit to make sure that these rumblings of him being unhappy and maybe wanting to go elsewhere, sort of die down. So like I said, it's just a lot that has to be decided with the Leaf roster. There's been names already thrown out there in addition to some of the older veteran coaches. Manny Malhotra has certainly been mentioned as someone that the Leafs are interested in, which I actually like. That would be I would give them a thumbs up if they hire Manny Malhotra. He was an assistant coach for the Leafs a few years ago. He knows Matthews well. Matthews actually performed some of his best. Malhotra was on the Leaf coaching staff years ago when Matthews was still one of the elite offensive players in the league before we saw this decline in his production and his scoring, the last couple of years. So keep that in mind. So Manny Malhotra would be a good choice. I know Jay Woodcroft's name has been mentioned with the Leaf job. There's someone that's more of that analytical side of things. He's obviously got the NHL head coaching experience. He's, of course, currently on Joel Quenneville's staff, assistant coach for the Anaheim Ducks. So there's definitely been some names that have been mentioned. We'll see what the Leafs end up going with here as far as coach is concerned. But like I said, Craig Berube being fired, not a surprise. And then we have Edmonton, who made it official. Too little too late, in my opinion, to make it official. He should have done this several days ago. But Chris Knobloch fired as head coach of the Edmonton Oilers with the decision finally becoming official, or the announcement becoming finally official today. The problem is it's too late for that announcement to come. Look, this whole situation's been crazy. Since several days ago, it was, I think, Sunday or Monday, it was reported that the Edmonton Oilers requested an interview with Bruce Cassidy. They requested an interview. They asked Vegas permission to interview Bruce Cassidy for the head coaching job. And I'm not thrilled that Vegas, didn't allow Bruce Cassidy to interview with the Edmonton Oilers. I have a little bit of a problem with that too, but that's not the biggest issue. That's not that's not the issue that I have the biggest problem with. The biggest problem I have here is that I don't care who's at fault. I don't care if it was someone on the Vegas side, if it was someone in Cassidy's camp, or if it was someone with the Edmonton Oilers camp. I don't care where it came from or who let it get out. But you cannot, under any circumstances, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, allow that knowledge of you requesting an interview with Bruce Cassidy from the Vegas Golden Knights to be the head coach of the team. You cannot allow that to be leaked. You cannot allow that to become public knowledge that you are seeking permission to interview Bruce Cassidy to be the next head coach of the Edmonton Oilers when your current head coach is already sitting there still with the job and twisting in the wind and wondering what the hell is going on. That is such a bad look on this organization. As simple as that. It's not fair to the human being, in this case, Chris Knobloch. That's not right to do that to him. And it's just a horrible, horrible look that here it is coming out that you're looking to interview Bruce Cassidy, and you haven't made a single public mention of what the status is of your current sitting head coach, Chris Knobloch. That is such a ridiculous way to operate your organization. You can't even explain it. And everybody's to blame. Jackson, the president's to blame. Stanley Bowman, not the first time he's fucked up. And by the way, this guy is not worth the spit of his old man. I'm telling you that right now. He is not worth his old man's spit, Stanley Bowman. I'm actually stunned that they're related. You've got one of the all-time greats as far as hockey is concerned, and Scotty, who showed that he had the ability to coach different teams, different eras, different styles of play, 70s, 80s, 90s, have all kinds of success. And here's Stanley Bowman, can't get out of his own way, operating a hockey club in the front office. So that's, a big problem that the Edmonton Oilers have had too. I mean, it's just an awful way to conduct things. It's too late now that they finally made it official. It's shameful that Chris Knobloch had to go through this whole experience. And then here we go again with another team. I don't think it's nearly as bad as Toronto, or it's actually, let me get that right. Toronto is not nearly as bad as Edmonton. Edmonton is worse as far as just fire the coach every time something goes wrong. That's what we have seen repeatedly here with this Edmonton Oilers team. And once again, they're going in that route once again. Now, I'm sure that Bruce Cassidy there's mutual interest. I'm sure of it. Edmonton's looking at Bruce Cassidy, and I think Bruce Cassidy's got Edmonton at or near the top of his list. So if this does happen, Bruce Cassidy becoming the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, I wouldn't be shocked. But this is all about how you handle things internally within your organization, and they handled it as badly and as poorly as they possibly could. It's really embarrassing for the Edmonton Oilers that this happened. That just cannot under any circumstances get out to the public before you've made a move on Chris Knobloch that you're interested in interviewing Bruce Cassidy to be your next head coach. It's Mickey Mouse. It makes your organization look like a joke. It really does. There's no question. And by the way, regarding Edmonton, and we talked about this, one coach after another throughout this organization, when there's been clear issues, building a good enough roster to surround Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, forward depth issues this year, defensive issues this year, still haven't figured out how to get an adequate, legit, bona fide, strong number one goaltender into this organization to put them, in a even stronger position to finally win a Stanley Cup in the Connor McDavid era, but we're going to keep blaming the coaches for that? I mean, it's ridiculous. And here's the topper to all of this as far as what Edmonton's doing. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is an original Edmonton Oiler. He was drafted there in 2011. He has played his entire 15-year NHL career, with the Edmonton Oilers. Next season's going to be his 16th season with the Edmonton Oilers, if you can believe it. He's been here forever. And in going on 16 years with the Edmonton Oilers, do you know how many coaches Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has had? And this next one will be, you know what? It'll be his 10th coach. Can you believe that nonsense? 10 coaches in 16 seasons. 10 head coaches in 16 seasons since Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was drafted. That's a disgrace. I mean, that's ridiculous. 10 coaches, come on, 10 coaches in 16 years? That's not right. You don't run an organization that way. But I guess you do if you're the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I probably should have known it was something close to 10 coaches, but that is absolutely insane. You don't run any sort of organization that way. And poor Ryan Nugent-Hopkins now. 10, can you believe that? 10 coaches in 16 years? But all the while, one coach after another, after another, after another. Go on down the list. Todd McClellan, and even go back further than that. They had Craig McTavish in here. They had, obviously Jay Woodcroft and Dave Tippett, and you go on, just constant. And now here we go, Chris Knobloch. And all the while, they have not built a good enough team around Connor McDavid. And yet it's always the coach's fault. It's always blame the coach. It's always blame the coach that there's not enough depth scoring. It's always blame the coach that, for years we've had, Darnell Nurse and an aging Matthias Ekholm, who's not nearly as good as he used to be, as our best shutdown defenseman. It's always the coach's fault that the goaltending stinks year in and year out in a big spot. And that's why the Edmonton Oilers have it's been this ultimate frustration for the Edmonton Oilers year in and year out, trying to finally get over that hump and win a Stanley Cup. So, obviously I feel bad for Chris Knobloch. He'll get hired again. Maybe not as a head coach right away, but certainly he'll be brought on, I'm sure, by someone as an assistant coach. He'll get back behind the bench sooner rather than later. And at the end of the day, this is a man in Chris Knobloch that still took a team to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. So like I said, he will find his way back behind an NHL bench certainly sooner rather than later. But just a complete and utter they look like it looks like a bunch of clowns. It looks like a bunch of clowns at the circus, the Edmonton Oilers, and the way they handled this and the way they're managing things. Really. It looks like a complete and utter shit show with what's going on there. And this is as bad as it gets. To have this leaked out that you were seeking Bruce Cassidy to be the head coach and interview him for the job when Chris Knobloch at that time was still your head coach is just unbelievably, it's tone deaf, it's cruel, it's not professional, it's a joke. That's all there is to it. And like I said, it was brutal stuff all around from the Edmonton Oilers organization. And then to rub salt on the wound, great segue, because now we're going to talk about Colorado and Minnesota last night. Former Oiler Brett Kulak, the hero for the Colorado Avalanche with the overtime winner. It was a fun betcast last night. It was, figuring out when Colorado. We always thought during the betcast last night. First of all, let's start at the beginning. Colorado was terrible in the first period. Totally asleep. They had that mindset coming out of the gate that, hey, we're just going to step on the ice and end this series tonight. Minnesota, to their credit, they were ready to battle and ready to keep their season alive. And that's really all that the first period was about. One team was winning all the battles. One team was getting after it offensively. One team was sturdy in their own end, and Colorado was just running around, screwing up with their defensive coverage. I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood was particularly good in the first period either last night, and you give Minnesota credit. They were ready to fight and battle and compete to keep their season alive. And Colorado, it looked like a team that already felt the series was over. And it was a fait accompli that they were going to win and end the series last night. But as you know, when you're playing a team like the Colorado Avalanche, especially in their building on the road at Ball Arena, you cannot get passive. You cannot get passive. You cannot go back into a defensive shell. You cannot get conservative. You have to stay with your pedal to the metal and keep that foot on the gas pedal. And Minnesota's issue, as far as last night, was when it was 3-0, and you could sense at the beginning of the second period, after whatever Bednar said in the first, and I'm sure he said a few things to his team after that first period performance. And then he made the goalie change too and put Scott Wedgwood in to start the second period. The fatal flaw that Minnesota had, two different fatal flaws in this game. When it was 3-0, they didn't make it 4-0. And when it was 3-1, they never made it 4-1. And you just allowed a very dangerous team like the Colorado Avalanche that little bit of opportunity, that little bit of an open door to just push that door right on open. And that's exactly what they did. It was just, and all you got to do is look at the shots on goal. What did they have? 13 shots on goal after the first period, Minnesota. They had 7 shots on goal the rest of the game. That's second period, third period, and overtime combined. Minnesota had 7 shots on goal for the rest of the game after that first period. That's just playing to lose, and you're asking for trouble playing that way and just protecting the lead just too much. And eventually Minnesota paid the price for it. They did a lot of good things, but what a response by Colorado. 3-1 inside 5, and that's the hard part. They were close to the finish line, that even though I don't think they played the way they should have, Minnesota was still up 3-1 with under 5 minutes to go in the third period. They were that close to being able to put that game away and force a game 6. But then all of a sudden, we saw what happened after that. And by the way, shout out Parker Kelly. He scored again. I didn't use him as a bargain bin last night, but we did mention probably still worth a look at that plus 800 price. He got Colorado on the board last night, but obviously the 3-2 goal inside 5 minutes left really got the building rocking from Jack Drury with about, I think it was 3 minutes and change. There was 3:33 left when he scored to make it 3-2. And that's when you can tell, oh boy, this could happen. Colorado could tie this game, and if they tie this game, it goes to overtime. All the momentum is with the Avalanche. And sure enough, what an unbelievable shot by McKinnon on the tying goal with the extra attacker with 1:23 left. I mean, he caught, I think, Wallstedt a little off guard with that shot, and the place was going nuts. It was just an elite shot, elite decision to shoot the puck by an elite player, and Nathan McKinnon was able to just rip it from that face-off dot, not the best angle, but just ripped it in the top part of the net to tie that game for the Colorado Avalanche, and all the momentum obviously was with Colorado at that point. Now, Minnesota did have a chance early in the first shift of overtime, but then Colorado was starting to gain that momentum, carry the play. And what a play by Marty Necas on the overtime winner. Does the 360 around the world, gets everyone caught out of position. Everyone starts puck watching for Minnesota in the defensive zone. He feathers it over to Brett Kulak, rips it a one-timer home past Jesper Wallstedt for the game winner. And it was a tremendous comeback. Tremendous comeback for Colorado, down 3-0 to win that game and finish the series with a 4-3 win in overtime, and an equally brutal loss and collapse by the Minnesota Wild. You're less than 4 minutes away with a 3-1 lead to get this series back to Minnesota for Game 6, and it ends like that. Absolutely awful way to end the season. And look, we know they were banged up. Did we think Minnesota was going to win the series, even if they did win last night? I didn't think they were anyway, but at least you would have had a chance to play a Game 6 at home. And next thing you know, chance gone, and you lose in overtime. So tough end to the season and the series for the Minnesota Wild. And look, clearly Joel Eriksson not being available hurt their cause quite a bit. I don't think they're beating Colorado, even if he was able to play, but it certainly could have been, a much, they could have had a better chance, at least Minnesota, certainly, of getting past Colorado or getting this to a 6 or 7 game series with him in the lineup. But at the end of the day, Colorado's just that damn good right now. They could have such a bad first period and still be able to come back and beat you. And they showed it last night. Now, this has to be, if I'm Jared Bednar, going into the Western Conference Final, and of course they'll await the winner of Vegas and Anaheim, this has got to be a situation where you say, you know what, that's enough of Mackenzie Blackwood. Scott Wedgwood's been our best goalie this year. I don't care what Blackwood did last year. I don't care anymore. This year, the better goalie in the Colorado Avalanche uniform has been Scott Wedgwood, period. End of story. I don't want to hear any debate. He has been the better goaltender. It is time to give him not just the starts moving forward in the Western Conference Final, but it is time to give him a little bit of rope, a little bit of runway if he loses a game. I don't want to see this crap anymore where one fucking loss for Wedgwood, his first loss of the whole playoffs, was Game 3 against Minnesota, and the guy can't even get another start the next game. That was nonsense from Bednar to do that. Terrible, in my opinion. And then, of course, we saw and that's what Blackwood's been like this year. When he's given you a decent start here and a good start, and he's given you a few, he's had a lot of times when he's not been able to follow it up and play as well the very next game. And he did it again last night. He was not good in the first period, on a couple of those goals. I didn't love the Foligno goal. I didn't love the rebound at all that led to the third goal as well in that period, the second Nick Foligno goal. So, like I said, that's unfortunately, you've gotten that a little bit too much from Mackenzie Blackwood this year. You've gotten situations where he's had a terrific performance, a great start, like he had coming in for his first start of the playoffs in Game 4 against Minnesota. And then, of course, you ended up seeing him not ready to start that game and play at his best in that opening period last night. So, like I said, that's enough, Jared. You want to win a Stanley Cup? Scott Wedgwood's your guy. That's it. And if he loses in Game 1 in the West Final, you're not going to Blackwood in Game 2. You stick with Wedgwood. He's earned that much for the way he's played this year that you shouldn't be jumping to the other goalie just because of one loss at this point in time. So, like I said, he got away with it. Obviously last night with the big comeback win, but that's something he's going to have to fix, how he's managing his goalies here. And even I think someone mentioned it last night, or it was someone did on the Betcast, that Joe Quenneville, Lukas Dostal hasn't always had a great game in these playoffs, but he's not throwing in Ville Husso next game. No, Lukas Dostal's been our best goalie this year, and even with a rough start or two, he's going back in the next game. Okay, that's what it's got to be with Scott Wedgwood now for the Colorado Avalanche. But great win for Colorado. Nathan MacKinnon, an incredible series, an incredible playoffs. I know they were clowning with him on the TNT interview about the swimming in the hotel, on the off day, and he was caught on camera with that. Keep doing that. If you're going to play like that, keep doing whatever's working for you if you're Nate MacKinnon. But yeah, another great night from him last night. And Minnesota's got some decisions now in the offseason. And obviously, the first and foremost is you got to try to get Quinn Hughes back. Quinn Hughes is a situation where you want him back. He's talked glowingly about his time in Minnesota, but it doesn't mean you're going to for sure be able to get him back, because there's going to be other teams in the mix that are going to be coveting a Quinn Hughes. So that's very important for Minnesota. And the one thing that Quinn Hughes did was he certainly made this team a more dangerous team in the playoffs. There's no doubt. Big reason why they won a first-round series for the first time in 11 years is because of Quinn Hughes' presence and the way he played. So, like I said, some interesting off-season decisions coming up here for the Minnesota Wild as Colorado advances to the Western Conference Final. All right, let's get into tonight's games. We'll start with our Betcast featured game. It is Montreal and Buffalo. We've got Buffalo minus 120 home favorites, 5.5 the total. Series tied at 2 here between the Canadiens and the Sabres. When you look at this series, it's been a back and forth series. Obviously, it's been a zigzag series as well. Actually, it hasn't been a zigzag series. Buffalo won Game 1. Montreal took the next 2, Game 2 and Game 3, and then Buffalo won Game 4 to tie it up. Again, the margins have been very thin in this series in some of the games. Obviously, look, Montreal, when you look at the series, Buffalo won Game 1. They were the better team. Game 2, Montreal was certainly the much better team. Game 3, Montreal was certainly the much better team. Game 4, I think Buffalo was the better team, certainly in the early part of the game. And overall, they were the better part of the team, but they didn't completely dominate and control the flow, Buffalo, even though they won Game 4 3-2 the other night. So when I look at the 4 games in this series so far, and we're knotted up at 2 going into Game 5 tonight here in Buffalo, I still think the control of the flow for larger portions of the series, for more periods played in the series, has still been toward the Montreal Canadiens here going into this Game 5 tonight. What do we know about Montreal, too? I know I've been on this multiple times when talking about Montreal when they lost the previous game. They've been a great bounce-back team. They've been a great response team throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. A perfect 4-0, the Montreal Canadiens, off a loss. Going back to I'll just repeat it, Game 2 against Tampa, they lost, bounced back and won Game 3 of that series. They lost Game 4 at home. They bounced back. They won Game 5 on the road. They lost Game 6 in overtime. They, of course, went on the road and won that decisive Game 7 in Tampa. And, of course, in this series, they lost Game 1 to Buffalo and bounced back in Game 2 and won 5-1. So a perfect 4-0 off a loss, this team. I trust this team off a loss. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of lineup decisions we get from the Montreal Canadiens tonight in this game. I'm seeing the lineup right now for them. It doesn't look like there's going to be a ton of adjustment here tonight, and it looks like it's still pretty much similar. I don't see anyone coming into the line. I know there was talk that maybe Oliver Kapanen might come in, or a Brendan Gallagher maybe. There'd be some kind of depth forward lineup change, but at the moment I don't see anything that's changing here for the Montreal Canadiens, not just forward, but on the blue line as well. I'm still seeing Matheson, Carrier, Hudson, Dobson, Arbor Jacki, and Caden Gooley being the 6 defensemen. So sometimes you think off a loss, you're going to see a lineup change. I don't necessarily think we're seeing that here for Montreal. As far as Buffalo is concerned, it looks like there is going to be potentially a change here tonight with their D pairs. I'm seeing that Connor Timmins might come out and Logan Stanley might draw back in and be paired on that third pairing with his former Winnipeg Jets teammate. They both came over to Buffalo at the deadline in that same trade, Shen and Stanley. They might be paired together. That might be the one change on the blue line here for the Buffalo Sabres. I don't see anything changing as far as the forward group going into this game. They're certainly not going to take Consta Hellenis. Hellenis wheels. There we go. Consta Hellenis for Buffalo, who could have scored a couple of goals in that game for the Sabres. He was that strong as well. But no question, he gave them a spark too. I thought he was dangerous when he was on the ice in that game. Obviously, he had some good chances playing with Zucker and with Quinn. We know Benson, Norris, and Doan has been, just a phenomenal line for the Sabres, not just in this series, but throughout the playoffs. But there's no doubt that was a nice call by Lindy Ruff to go with Hellenis. He gave them definitely a spark. He was dangerous, threatening every time he was on the ice for the most part. And you got to give Lindy Ruff credit for the move to go to UPL, instead of Alex Lyon in net, because UPL, he was excellent in the last 2 periods. You could quibble about the Cole Caulfield goal on the power play late in the first period, but after that, he shut it down, and he was magnificent in the last 2 periods to give Buffalo a great chance to win that Game 4 on the road on Tuesday night. So obviously now with him getting the win, he's back in tonight. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for the Buffalo Sabres. And I think that's kind of what Buffalo's going to be doing here moving forward. Alex Lyon, when they replaced Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the Boston series and went to Lyon started winning, and even with the loss, they went back to Lyon. They gave Lyon, a good amount of time to run with the net. And now that, they made the switch to UPL, if UPL keeps winning, at least for the next few games, they'd probably keep going with him. That's the way it's probably going to work here as far as the goaltending is concerned. But as far as for me in this game, I am on Montreal first goal, first period. Montreal goal in the first period is too pricey right now, but if I am able to get a live price that's a little bit better than what we see right now, I'll jump on that live. But that's another thing about Montreal. Not only has Montreal been a perfect 4-0 off a loss in the playoffs. They're also 4-0 off a loss scoring the first goal of the game in the playoffs. That's another important factor to point out. So that Montreal first goal, first period here tonight, plus 140 at FanDuel. I'll definitely be on that. Actually, the price at FanDuel for Montreal to score a goal in the first period is minus 146 currently. So I'm not going to have to wait too long to get a better price on that. So that's definitely what I'll be looking at here. Montreal first goal, first period, Montreal goal in the first period, and Montreal money line here, plus 100. They've just been awesome in this spot. Off a setback, off a disappointing loss, and they're able to bounce back. Keep in mind, again, we've talked about this theme all series. The road team has the value in my mind. Road teams are going to be able to win games in this series. Buffalo's had a lot of success in Montreal over the years, just like Montreal's had a lot of success winning in Buffalo over the years. In fact, so both of these teams have done a good job in this head-to-head matchup, and they've both been great road teams in the playoffs, as you know. Montreal's still got a 4-2 road record in their 6 playoff road games entering tonight's game. So, it's Montreal, first goal, first period, first goal in the first period, and also Montreal money line. 5.5, give me over 5. I like the over by Fecta. I mean, the first period over is still cashed in every game in this series. Game 4 is the first time in this series we saw a game finish with fewer than 6 goals. But we are still talking about long-term, 12 of 14 meetings, Buffalo, Montreal, at least 6 goals. So we'll jump in on the over by Fecta once again, in addition to that Montreal first goal, first period, goal in the first period, and Montreal money line here, plus 100. As far as props go, and yes, I'm seeing Alex Newhook's name flooding the chat with a ton of comments and props for Alex Newhook, and I can't argue with any of it. Over 1.5 shots on goal. It's cashed in all 4 games in this series. He's going to be the leading goal scorer in the series. I wish I had known that before the series started, but I didn't have Alex Newhook on my bingo card to lead the series in goals. But it looks like he's going to be the runaway winner to finish the series in goals at this point in time. But yeah, Newhook over shots, goal, assist, anything Alex Newhook. How do you not at this point in time with just how tremendous a series he's had? And even after the goal he scored the other night, he could have scored a couple more. Like, he's had chances, it seems, every time he steps on the ice. Alex Newhook seems to be getting chances. And that is definitely what you want to see. So he's got 3 straight games with a goal, plus 360. We're going to be on that once again as far as a goal prop. Cole Caulfield, don't look now. Suddenly back-to-back games with a goal for him after he couldn't buy a goal in the Tampa series and in the first couple games of this series. Tage Thompson has scored in back-to-back games. Anything involving Benson and Doan, whether it's shots, whether it's goal prop, assist prop, point prop, I would certainly look in that direction as well. We mentioned Rasmus Dahlin on the BetCast last night. I think Jonathan made the comment that if he's not in the damn box as much as he is, he probably goes over his shots on goal. And he had been really trending heavily to his over shots on goal before Game 4 against Montreal. So this could be the night to come back to Rasmus Dahlin over 2.5 shots on goal. He's gone over that number in 4 of the last 5 playoff games, 7 of the last 10 games overall for Dahlin over his shots prop. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Goal prop with Dahlin, because he is shooting the puck quite a bit, is probably worth a look here tonight as well in this game. And then as far as, let me see here, saves prop, I like Dobish over saves in Game 4, and it looked like it was going to cash easily at the beginning of the game because Buffalo had like 10 or 11 shots in the first period, but suddenly, it kind of dwindled as far as their shot volume after that. And they did have a lead in the third period, so they weren't maybe on the gas pedal nearly as much, but we'll see as far as tonight goes. I would think UPL over saves tonight with Montreal off the loss. They'll be the team that maybe has a little more in the shot volume department here tonight in this game. And yes, also for Buffalo, you got to take him again tonight. It was a bit of a bad beat with him as the bargain bin special in Game 4. Consta Hellenis for the Buffalo Sabres. We had plus 700 for him to score a goal. I mean, what more? He did everything he could except put the puck in the net. He got robbed by Jakub Dobiš on a 2-on-1 in the third period of Game 4. He hit the post on another great scoring chance, another glorious scoring chance that he had in Game 4. So you got to go back to the well with Konsta Helenius for the Buffalo Sabres here to find the back of the net on home ice, and you're still getting an excellent price. Some books have the assist prop as well. I don't mind looking in that direction either. As far as Konsta Helenius to get an assist, it's plus 650. The best price out there for him to score a goal. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, they all have Helenius at plus 650 to get a goal. Plus 465, the best price out there for him to get an assist. The point prop is plus 265, the best price. So there's some great plus money here for Konsta Helenius here tonight for the Buffalo Sabres as far as his props. No question about that. And there you go with and we'll get to Dorofeyev and his shots on goal, but I'm in there with Jonathan. Jonathan's got Dorofeyev in a shots on goal parlay, and we'll get to that in a minute, but definitely I could see him getting over that. Great segue to Game 5 Western games. Oh, that's not right. That's game 6. I beg your pardon here. Western Conference second round series. Vegas Golden Knights, Anaheim Ducks. Looks like we've got pretty much even money here. Actually, Vegas is a slight road favorite here in Game 6, minus 115 road favorite. The total here sitting at 6.5. Shop around because some books have 6, some have 6.5 as far as the total here in this Game 6 tonight. Of course, Vegas leading the series 3-2 and looking to finish off the Anaheim Ducks here tonight in Anaheim. Will they do it? Here's what I guess I will give you the pro-Vegas argument. Vegas has been great in Game 5, 6, and 7 in recent years. Very good. They've been extremely good. In fact, they're on an undefeated streak in Game 6s coming into this game tonight. That is all in Vegas's favor. We saw them against Utah in the first round. That series was locked up at 2. Game 5, they won at home, and they had no problem going on the road in Game 6 to the Delta Center, which had been a good home environment for Utah in that first round, and they played maybe their best game of that series in ending the series in 6 in Utah in that Game 6. That's the pro-Vegas argument, that they are experienced, they know how to take care of business, they know how to finish off an opponent when they've got him up against the ropes, and they can do that here on the road against this. And maybe they figured out Anaheim too, because there's been some games they shut them down, and the last game was an example of that. But I think there's more pro-Anaheim arguments here tonight. They're out without Mark Stone again. That's a big deal. And yeah, you won without him in Game 5 at home. You don't have last line change tonight like you did in Game 5 at home. Coach Q is going to get the matchups he wants. And now you don't have Mark Stone to deal with some of these defensive matchups, and you miss him at that end of the ice. You miss his scoring too, but you miss his defensive prowess. And to make matters even worse, for his hit on Ryan Poehling in Game 5 against Anaheim that gave Anaheim a 5-minute power play, Braden McNabb has been suspended for 1 game, and he won't play tonight. And you're talking about one of the best shutdown defensemen, shot blocker, plays on the penalty kill against an Anaheim power play that's extremely dangerous, and an Anaheim power play that started to figure things out. You know, they had 2 power play goals against Vegas in Game 4 in this building when they won that game and tied the series. And then, of course, in Game 5, they on that 5-minute power play, they ended up scoring a goal as well. And now McNabb, who's an integral, critical component of that penalty kill against, like I said, a very lethal, very dangerous power play for Anaheim that has started to figure things out. And you've got to try to kill penalties tonight without him, and Stone for that matter. That's a problem. That's a concern. That is a worry for John Tortorella and the Vegas Golden Knights here tonight. Yeah, the Quenneville record with Game 6s, I think it's when it's eliminating an opponent, though, Nick. The streak with Quenneville in Game 6s is, I think, when they're the team looking to eliminate their opponent. I'm not sure it applies to when they're facing elimination. So that's the one thing I'd be cautious about with that Quenneville record that I know Alex mentioned on the show last round against Edmonton when they finished off the Oilers. But yeah, I'm giving the Anaheim Ducks a bet here. I trust them. They're 4-1 at home. We're due for a Game 7 in this round. I think this is the series that could give us a Game 7. Carter Hart has had some issues in this series, following up a great game with another great game. There's been some inconsistency. It's been kind of a one up, one down at times in this series for Carter Hart. He looks awesome in game 1, loses game 2. He's pretty damn good in game 3. He was shaky in game 4. He was terrific in game 5 when Vegas won in overtime the other night. Maybe this is a down game for him. Not to mention it's been a zigzag series from start to finish. Vegas, Anaheim, Vegas, Anaheim, Vegas. If the zigzag theory stays true to form, Anaheim's winning tonight, and we got a game 7 Saturday afternoon. And Anaheim, we talked about Montreal off a loss. Anaheim, a perfect 4-0 off a loss here in the playoffs. Give me Anaheim here. Quack, 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 quack. Minus 105, Anaheim Ducks. Give me team total over for the Anaheim Ducks. We'll split it with the team total. I think Anaheim gets some offense going. I think the loss of McNabb is just, it's painful. It's tough. And I'm going to go with the 3 team total. BetMGM's got 3 with the team total, a flat 3 for the Anaheim team total here. Like I said, I just think their offense bounces back. The last line change means Coach Quenneville is going to get Leo Carlson, Seneca, all his best players in favorable matchup situations here tonight. I think the loss of McNabb, not just Stone, but McNabb now on the penalty kill, means that if Vegas is taking penalties tonight, that could be opening the door for Anaheim to get on board. Jonathan Davis always talks about the, not always, but I know he's mentioned on a couple of occasions those power play goal props for certain teams. You can bet a team to score a power play goal. This might be a night to look at Anaheim to score a power play goal, to bet that prop here tonight in Game 6. Because, again, this is a depleted Vegas penalty kill. It's a much more dubious, shaky back end here tonight for them in this game. Like, they're lining up. They're moving Dylan Coghlan up to the top pair with Shea Theodore. And I like Dylan Coghlan and the effort he's given in this series. I don't think he's ready for top pair assignment in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that's the way it is with Braden McNabb and with Jeremy Lauzon still out. Let's not forget, that's another one of their rugged, physical, shutdown, stay-at-home defensemen. So Dylan Coghlan with Shea Theodore, of course, Noah Hannafin, Rasmus Anderson, Ben Hutton, Caden Korzak. I mean, you're starting to get some, questions there with that depth now on that blue line for the Vegas Golden Knights. So there it is. Anaheim to score a power play goal. I might even get involved with that. I mean, their power play is starting to click. 3 power play goals in the last 2 games combined for Anaheim. And now you've got a Vegas team that on their penalty kill won't have Mark Stone on it and won't have Braden McNabb on it. That is significant. And I think that's why Anaheim could capitalize here with the man advantage. So give me Anaheim money line team total over split, and also give me the full game over. It's an elimination game, full game over 6 here, minus 120 to minus 125. Let me take a look, because this has been a venue-driven totals pattern here in this series, where 3-0 to the under in Vegas, game 1, game 2, game 5. And both games in Anaheim went over the total, game 3 and game 4. We've talked about that. It's been a bit of a theme. We've had lower scoring, tighter checking games at T-Mobile. We've had more wide open, looser defensive games here at Honda Center in this series. Yeah, I'm looking at the, I'm going to go over by fecta on this one. First period over cashed in the 2 games in Anaheim as well. So we'll go with that. And Anaheim's my favorite bet in this game, minus 105. But like I said, we'll get involved smaller with the over by fecta. As far as props go, Vegas, Pavel Dorofeyev, since he's been up on the top line, we were onto this right away. That guy moves up to the top line for Vegas with Eichel and Clocher Barbashev, which he has. He's going to be shooting the puck a lot more. And sure enough, what have we seen from Dorofeyev? 2 straight games where he's cleared over 2.5 shots on goal. So Pavel Dorofeyev, over 2.5 shots on goal. That makes sense to me. Cutter Gauthier's gone over 3.5 shots for Anaheim in 2 straight games. Mason McTavish over 1.5 shots on goal in 3 straight games. So look at what he's done for the Anaheim Ducks since coming back into the lineup. So absolutely, he has been, it's almost like that was a wake-up call a little bit, when he was that healthy scratch earlier in the playoffs, Mason McTavish. And he's responded nicely to it, getting involved, and obviously shooting the puck quite a bit as well. I'm just bringing up the game log here for Mason McTavish. Yeah, in 2 games after being a health bomb. He was a health bomb in game 2 in Vegas and a health bomb in game 3 at home against Vegas. And then he entered the lineup again in game 4 and then played, of course, game 5. And in the 2 games since rejoining the lineup, Mason McTavish has 3 and 6 shots on goal. He's gone way over this 1.5 in both of the games since he's returned to the lineup. So, yeah, Mason McTavish over 1.5 shots on goal is probably a good look. So those are my favorite shots on goal tonight. Dorofeyev and McTavish for sure, would be the 2 shot props that stand out above the rest. Seneca, how do we not look at Beckett Seneca right now? Point prop, even money, but more. Go one step further. Goal prop plus 280, and look toward the first goal of the game and first Anaheim goal of the game with Beckett Seneca as well. Four straight. Specifically, he scored the first Anaheim goal in 4 straight games, and that is plus 900. So I think you've definitely got to look in that direction here as far as that's concerned. I think you got to bet Tomas Hertl. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. I think you got to bet Tomas Hertl. I love it when betting players that are starting to get on a goal-scoring streak, consecutive game goal-scoring streak, and now we're at 2. For Tomas Hertl. And I find, too, it's kind of coincided with Mark Stone being out, that all of a sudden, hey, we need Hertl's production. We need Hertl to be involved in the offense a little bit. So, yeah, Tomas Hertl. Brett Howden. We're not quitting on Brett Howden after, I think a couple games in a row now where he hasn't scored. We're still going to go to the well one more time with Brett Howden for the Vegas Golden Knights. So those are the main props here tonight for me in this one tonight. Oh, yeah, and it is an elimination game. It is an elimination game, so we will get involved with small bets, third period over pregame. That's at BetMGM. The third period over is probably third period over 2, I would assume. Let me just check. Yeah, over 2 minus 145 with that. And also the empty net props in this game as well. Empty net goal plus 110. And I guess we got to bet Vegas because they're the team that's trying to eliminate Anaheim. So Vegas, empty net goal plus 2. I hope not. I want Anaheim to win. I'm betting Anaheim. But I will sprinkle on Vegas, specifically empty net goal plus 230 in this one. And by the way, I mentioned how I'm going to be on the money line with Anaheim and the team total over for Anaheim. And I mentioned betting it at BetMGM, the team total for Anaheim, because you can get a flat 3. The flat 3 is minus 120. At BetMGM. So it's Anaheim team total over 3 minus 120. And you could opt for that, or you could opt for the 3.5 and get the plus money. It's just a little more security with the over 3 minus 120 here for Anaheim. But like I said, I think, to be honest, and I would not be so bullish on Anaheim tonight. Let's say Mark Stone didn't get injured. Braden McNabb was playing tonight. I wouldn't be as confident taking Anaheim tonight. I think if Vegas had a little bit more of a full-strength team going into this game tonight than they do, I think there'd be a pretty decent chance, in fact, they could end the series and finish it tonight. And maybe they still do end it tonight. Maybe this is just, Anaheim's first time facing elimination in these playoffs for still a relatively young team outside of, Killorn and Kreider and, and John Carlson. And some of the elder statesmen on this team, that could still be, it's just too big a moment for them to handle this for the first time, facing elimination, backs against the wall. But I don't think it could set up any better for Anaheim. They're 4-0 off a loss in the playoffs. They're 4-1 at home here in the playoffs. They played well here at the Honda Center. Vegas has got no Stone and no McNabb's a significant deal because of the role he plays on the penalty kill against a very dangerous Anaheim power play. I think it couldn't set up any better. Like, the door is wide open here for Anaheim to take this to Game 7. They just have to walk through the door, and we'll see if they can do that here tonight. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Looking forward to the 2 games tonight. And, of course, we're definitely looking forward to the live betcast for Patreon members. For Game 5, Montreal, Buffalo, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you join us for the live betcast here tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, Montreal, Buffalo. Series tied at 2. And again, The only way to join that betcast, to watch it, and to join us on the stream is become a Patreon member. So make sure you get on board. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. And of course, you get all the bonus content plus daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page, plus all the access to tonight's exclusive Patreon live betcast and all the remaining Patreon betcasts we will have for the rest of the playoffs. So make sure you get on board. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys, wizardsportspicks.com. Check out the website, daily premium picks, long-term subscriptions available, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB, profitable, winning in NHL and NBA seasons. And I'm back on top in the NHL at Wizard Sports Picks, back to the number one ranking in the NHL at wizardsportspicks.com. So make sure you check that out. And of course, the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch at the Ice Guys store. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Best bet coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night here for the two games on this Thursday night in NHL Stanley Cup playoff action. Let me just do a quick check, see if Alex checked in. He is probably en route back home to Minnesota right now. His flight was supposed to happen early this afternoon, so he's probably either just about to land or maybe just landed a few minutes ago. But yes, he did. He did send me his card here for the games tonight. He's got a light card. He's on Vegas to score empty net goal plus 230 and the empty net goal prop with plus 110 with Vegas Anaheim. So I believe the empty net goal. So he's got that. For his bargain bin special, he is going with Lane Hutson for the Montreal Canadiens to score a goal plus 700. So there you go. Alex B. Smith, Lane Hutson, Montreal plus 700 for bargain bin special of the night. Good stuff. And for me, I am going with two bargain bin specials here for this Thursday, and I am going to go to the Montreal Buffalo game for both of these bargain bin specials. Both of them are going to be from the Habs Sabres game. Yes, one of them is Alex Newhook. How can it not be? He's been that good. He's been every time he's been on the ice, he's gotten chances. It's not just that he's scoring in bunches, but he's gotten chances. Plus 310, this will be the last chance to take an Alex Newhook bargain bin. If he scores again, we're not getting over plus 300 next game. That would be my guess. So Alex Newhook, Montreal, plus 310 for my first bargain bin special of the night. And I'm running it back with Consta for Buffalo. Consta Hellenis, plus 650. Hellenis wheels. And he's got wheels, by the way. He can skate. That's another thing I noticed in Game 4. Very good skater. He was dangerous. He had those great, glorious chances. We're going to run it back with Hellenis that maybe finds the back of the net tonight. Plus 650 for Consta Hellenis and Alex Newhook plus 310. So there you go. Both bargain bin specials for me from the Montreal Buffalo game for tonight. All right, best bets. Alex's best bet is the Vegas Anaheim empty net goal plus 110. That'll be his best bet for tonight. And my best bet for tonight, I'm not going to play the clip because I'm only going to play it tomorrow if they win. But bleu, blanc, rouge, le Canadien, le Canadien. Yeah, we're going to the Montreal Canadiens again tonight. I went with them for a best bet in Game 2. Very similar situation. Off a loss, playing in Buffalo, and we got one of their best games of the playoffs. I'm not going to say they're going to win 5-1 like they did in Game 2, But I expect Montreal to do what they've done all playoffs long, respond, be at their best. And look, I don't expect them to run over Buffalo, but I do expect them to find a way to bounce back and win, just like they've done after every playoff loss so far in this year's playoffs. Montreal, for me, plus 1-0. Let me just check the price. Here we go. Up we go. Let's scroll down. Okay, hold on one sec. Yeah, the best price is plus 106. Yep, plus 106, best price for the Montreal Canadiens right now. So Montreal plus 106 against Buffalo tonight in Game 5. That'll be my best bet here for this Thursday slate. All right, Betcast tonight. We hope you join us. We look forward to seeing our Patreon members for the Betcast for Game 5. Montreal, Buffalo tonight. Looking forward to that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. No show tomorrow. There's no games tomorrow. So we're off tomorrow, and we're back Saturday at noon Eastern with another daily edition of the Ice Guys.